Marco Rubio, little Marco, I don't know if you remember, he did the State of the Union rebuttal speech where he was the guy who sipped the water. Everybody was making fun of him.
Yep.
So Marco Rubio, from Florida, hated Trump. Now he's, in the beginning, now he's been sucking up to Trump. Now he's pushing to be the VP pick for Trump. And they're basically, it's like Miss America for who's going to be the VP pick for Trump. He's been lining him up at Mar-a-Lago. I don't know when the swimsuit competition is going to be, but it seems like soon. But now it's who can grovel the best. That's what's going on right now. And Marco Rubio is on MSNBC, or on NBC News, Meet the Press, and he's showing his groveling ability and his ability to just flat out lie in service of Trump. So we're going to watch a minute of this because it's hilarious.
Senator, will you accept the election results?
Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen from her and that Trump was illegitimate. Kamala Harris agreed.
Senator,
we have Democrats now.
Yet another major Republican senator lobbying to be Donald Trump's vice president.
So this is Pondering Politics, and he was covered. I wanted to open with that because, simple question, will you accept the election results? The obvious answer is yeah. Right?
Okay, can we just, have a moment where we recognize how really freaking strange it is that that's even a question that would be being asked of potential presidential and vice presidential candidates?
Oh, it shouldn't be. No, it's so stupid. But that's the thing, is with Trump, he's been lying about the election being stolen. He said the 2016 election was rigged, and he won that one. He said the 2020 one was rigged. I mean, they're all rigged, right? If he doesn't win, it's rigged. If it doesn't go the way he wants, it's rigged. But that's what they're asking Rubio. And what is he? Oh, Hillary, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's bullshit, and I'm going to show you why that's bullshit in a minute. But I just wanted to get into it. So here he is at Pondering Politics, and he's going to cover this a little bit. But we're going to jump into this because I think this is a weird back and forth between them.
But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. All right, friends, this is yet another sign of the troubling trajectory of the Republican Party into full-bore fascism. By my count, this is the third Republican senator, major Republican senator, who is refusing to commit to accepting the results of the upcoming election as part of an audition to be Donald Trump's vice president. First, you had Tim Scott from South Carolina, J.D. Vance of Ohio, and now Marco Rubio of Florida. So we're going to play this clip and unpack it together.
Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
No matter what happens? No, if it's an unfair election, I think it's going to be contested by either side.
Senator, no matter who wins.
I think you're asking the wrong person. The Democrats are the ones that have opposed every Republican victory since 2000. Every single one. It's Hillary
No
Clinton
Democrat has refused to concede. Hillary Clinton conceded. Senator, will you accept the election results?
Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen from her and that Trump was illegitimate. Kamala Harris agreed.
Senator,
we have Democrats now.
Senator, she conceded the election. She said that
Trump was illegitimate. She said that the election had been stolen. Kamala Harris agreed. By the way, there are Democrats serving in Congress today who in 2004 voted not to certify the Ohio electors because they said...
Okay, so let's get into some of that bullshit.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's just a gish gallop of bullshit. So... here's the deal. This is the Cato Institute. So, have Democrats said that elections have been bullshit before? Sure. Sure they have. But there's context. That's the thing. There was a context is so important. Yes, Democrats have called some elections illegitimate. But the GOP election was far worse. Okay, so they do the, well, Democrats do it, right? But Hillary, but Stacey Abrams, Al Gore, blah, blah, blah. Anti-Trump types are willing to concede that Trump's claims with the 2020 steal were baseless, but they insist the problem exists on both sides. And that it's rank partisanship, not to mention hypocrisy, to claim that the Trump, blah, blah, blah. So, 2016 race. The Republicans' favorite smoking gun relates to the 2016 election are a couple of video clips of Hillary Clinton expressing the view the election was stolen from her or that Trump was an illegitimate president. The thing to note is that Clinton's comments were made in 2019, 3 years after the election. She said that. And what she said it in regards to was the Mueller report. She didn't say it was illegitimate election or Trump was an illegitimate president that was stolen from her by like Trump or something like that. She said it was because of Russian interference, which Mueller's report showed. Right? That's what she was referring to, was Russian interference in the election. And that Trump was trying to, they were trying to work with the Russians. We know that. They just didn't do it. Because they were too incompetent. That's why he wasn't really guilty of that. Was he guilty of obstruction? Oh, fucking yay. Yeah, he was. Totally. But working with the Russians directly? No, because they tried to, but they screwed it up every time. That was what was so funny about that first impeachment hearing. In fact, it was Cohen was so stupid. Michael Cohen was his attorney at the time. They were trying to get a hold of, I can't remember, it was like a finance minister for the Soviet government, or that's not Soviet, the Russian government. And he mistaked, because the guy had the same name as a weightlifter. And so he was trying to get in contact with the professional weightlifter instead of the finance minister, because he confused the two guys. That's how incompetent Trump's people were. They were trying to collude with Russia to manipulate the election, and they were contacting the wrong guy. They were contacting a weightlifter instead of the actual minister. I mean, that just cracks me up. I mean, you can't even double check that shit. So that was like one where there's that there. I mean, so Hillary's, when she's saying illegitimate and all that, she's talking about Russian interference. Okay? Completely different than saying the election was rigged by her opponent. Or that it's bullshit, or immigrants are stealing stuff that's fake. She's talking about something that was actually real that happened. Right? So when he says that, it's all horse shit. And then Al Gore also said that he felt he would have won in 2000 against Bush, and he might have with the Florida thing, but the Supreme Court ruled, and Gore conceded right after the Supreme Court ruling, because he didn't want to divide the country. Hillary Clinton conceded the day after she lost the election from Trump. Even though she won the popular vote by 3 million votes, they lost the Electoral College. She conceded. That's the difference. As where Trump's and Rubio, they're talking about, well, no, we're not even going to concede. We're going to overthrow the government and rebel, or whatever the fuck they're doing. So we'll jump in and watch a little bit more, because this is how bad they have to tap dance and suck up to Trump.
Said those machines have been tampered with, and you have Democrats now saying they won't certify 2024 because Trump is an insurrectionist and ineligible to hold office. So you need to ask them. I think you've had have you ever asked the Democrat this question on your show? I bet you've never asked the Democrat that question.
Senator, you voted to certify the 2020 election, and here is what you said on that day that you voted to certify the 2020 election.
Yeah. Democracy is held together by people's confidence in the election and their willingness to abide by its results.
So by your own definition, are Donald Trump's claims undermining Americans' confidence in democracy, given that he has not conceded the last election, and he just said in recent days twice that he won Minnesota, Senator?
I think what undermines people's confidence in the election is when you have places like Wisconsin with over 500 illegal drop box locations, when you have places like Georgia.
Okay, I'm up. So it's just, what about bullshit? What about Hillary? What about this? What about that? We've done this before. It's like a bank robber in trial. Did you rob the bank? Well, yeah, but what about Al Capone? What about Bonnie and Clyde? What about them? You got to find me not guilty. See, everybody does it.
God, you know what? I have to tell you, when my students do stuff like that and try to, just suddenly start talking to me about the other kid,
right?
That doesn't fly. It absolutely doesn't fly. I have no idea why these guys seem to think they can do it.
Right. Well, this person did it. Why can't I? It doesn't float. It doesn't. Not in real life. You're still responsible for your actions, numbnuts. But this is just a gish gallop of what about bullshit, because he can't say the truth, which is, oh yeah, I'm a hypocrite and a liar, and I'm sucking up to Trump, so I have to lie and be a bootlicker. So instead of admitting that, which of course he's never going to admit, he's going to go, well, what about this? What about that? What about that? It's going to be a distraction, right? Look at the other hand, right? The one I loved too was he threw this in, and he was like illegal ballot boxes or drop boxes in Wisconsin. And I'm like, what the fuck was that about? I actually looked it up because I was curious. This is what it was. So Wisconsin Republicans changed their tune on ballot drop boxes ahead of state Supreme Court ruling. Okay, so basically in Wisconsin, they have drop boxes where you can drop your voting pamphlet off. and then somebody comes and picks them up, right? It's just a big lockbox. So if the Wisconsin Supreme Court reinstates the broad use of ballot drop boxes, Republicans in the key battleground states say they'll be prepared to encourage their voters to use them in this year's election. Wisconsin Republicans say it will be one part of a multi-pronged approach in anticipation of the expanded use, blah, blah, blah. But the whole point was, here, the strategy underscores the ongoing shift in attitudes towards early and alternative voting methods within the GOP nationally. Republicans, all the way up to former President Donald Trump, had until recently falsely claimed or insinuated that the drop boxes were a source of fraud. So basically, they don't like it because it makes voting easier. And when voting's easier, Democrats tend to win. If you make voting harder, because Republicans tend to be non-college educated white people. That's the majority of Republicans. The vast majority of that party. But those people tend to have a lot more time on their hands than, the rest of us. Because a lot of them are retired, a lot of them are in rural areas, a lot of them are unemployed. They have time to go vote. They have time to go to rallies and put on their Trump gear. Democrats don't typically have that kind of time, right? And your average sort of moderate Republican doesn't have that kind of time. They've got jobs and shit. So the Dropbox thing, though, they've had that in Wisconsin forever. It's been going on for a long time. And now the Republicans are saying that it's some sort of fraud thing, and it's not. And now it's up to the Wisconsin Supreme Court to figure out, are we going to take that away or not? But right now, in Wisconsin, once the ballots are out, you can take your ballot and just drop it off at a Dropbox. You don't have to go to a voting booth. And, I know the Republicans, fraud, da, da, da. I'm sorry, I've been voting, since I was 18, and I've only once been to an actual voting booth. And that was the first year I lived in Hawaii, because I did it just because I hadn't registered yet. And I waited in line for 2 hours, and it sucked. And 2 hours is nothing. Some of these people wait 10 hours to vote. The way the Republicans set it up. And what's screwed up is I just voted recently. We had an election in Oregon just this week. And I voted by mail. And you could also take your ballot, because they mail it to you. You can take it and drop it off at the local library or post office or whatever, and they have drop boxes there. And they've been doing that forever, and we never have any election fraud. So this is all horseshit. It's just all distraction. But you see how quickly they lie, and it takes forever. You'd spend hours digging out all the bullshit from these. And that's why they just wrap off these quick lies like that, because it's just a distraction. But that's all they got. But Marco Rubio, and I don't know, I think it's a bad call on his part, on all their parts really, because in all likelihood, I think it's probably going to be either who the rich guy, the billionaire that's sucking up to Trump to be VP, or J.D. Vance is probably going to be the ones that do it. The others, you basically, not like they have much credibility left anyway, but it's like you're selling the last, semblance of your soul for the off chance you might get picked VP by a guy who's probably not going to win. So,
right.
It's just an interesting thing. So,